We're in the final hour, so we're going to do one more content chunk, one more round of activities. You're going to get to pop those balloons that I've been talking about all day. And then we are going to just have a brief summary of some resources that are out there, and we'll do our door prizes. There's no formal evaluation. Gary will be sending you an online evaluation. However, I will give you a couple questions to tweet. So if you are on Twitter, we'd love to have your evaluation on Twitter. FEBC17. Okay. So in this last segment, what I'm going to do is just give you an update on just numbers that are out there, you know, different figures that relate to tax laws and things that you might just need to know about that. So the first one is for Social Security. Probably the biggest one that will be of interest to your students is the quarter of coverage, because they're starting to get jobs and working. A quarter of coverage this year is $1,300. So that's the amount that you would earn if you made that amount of money in a quarter, you know, 3 months. You would be earning a credit towards Social Security, and you need to have 40 credits to qualify for benefits. They also raised the earnings limit. This might be applying more to you, that if you're thinking about retiring maybe and doing some work afterwards and you're claiming Social Security, there is a limit to how much you can earn before they start taking back some of your benefits. And that limit this year is $16,920. And then for really affluent people with nice salaries, they've raised the amount that they can tax up to $127,200. That's the maximum income that gets taxed on Social Security. Okay, health savings accounts. Again, with more and more people having those high deductible plans like we talked about before, one of the ways that they can help to have some money available when things happen and they need co-payments and co-insurance is to have a health savings plan. So those numbers went up just slightly from last year to this year. The biggest thing is that for a single person, it went up an extra $50. So you can contribute up to $3,400 as a single person for a health savings account. It's kind of like an IRA in that it's not an investment itself, it's a place to put investments. So you would get to choose where your health savings account money went to. And depending on where you work, you may have options through an employer, or you may go to a financial custodian, like a brokerage firm or something, and then have their options. Okay, so yeah, you have some choice on that. Okay, pretty much retirement plan contribution limits stayed the same from last year to this year. There were a little bit of an increase in some things like the adjusted gross income for the savers credit, you know, for people with low and moderate incomes who are saving for retirement. Pretty much the same, though. I mean, again, they're talking about some major tax legislation that may or may not happen in D.C., so we'll have to kind of stay tuned if they really do a major overhaul of tax policy. And then just the usual, every year they adjust the standard deduction for single people, for married couples filing jointly. The estate tax exclusion went up slightly. All of these things are indexed for inflation, so they go up pretty much as a regular course. Okay, so I wanted to talk about some new or revised financial education resources. So this one I call the Bible because it comes out every year. It's the annual limits relating to financial planning. And the College for Financial Planning puts this out for people who are in the CFP program, Certified Financial Planner. So every year they want to make sure that these people know all the accurate numbers. So in one 2-page document, you have a summary of everything in tax law, income tax law, estate tax law, all those numbers that are key, that are all limits in your financial planning. So I love this document because I don't keep all these numbers in my head. Who can? So you just whip out the document and you're all up to date. We spent a lot of time talking about Next Gen, so I just wanted to summarize some of their new things on this one slide. They've made some major tweaks to some of their units, like their savings unit, for example. And then, as Tim mentioned, they have new products. They have the question of the day. I love those questions of the day. You know, if you've got like a 4 or 5 minute or 3-minute slot in your class, and you know it's close to the bell time, but it's not the bell. You can't start anything new. You could pop a question and get some interesting feedback, something related to the topic. So they've come up with some questions that might stimulate a discussion with your children, with your students. And then data crunches. Data crunches are great because, again, what they're doing is they're providing a piece of data, usually a chart or something out of an article like in the Wall Street Journal, and then some questions around that. You know, what do these numbers mean? What is the trend line in this table or chart? So they're really helpful. The interactive library, which some of you got into during the scavenger hunt, and then, of course, Tim mentioned the fine print. And then all their professional development opportunities. Has anybody done with their PLCs yet? I'm planning to do one this year because I think I want to do it just for the experience. But PLC is professional learning community where you have a group of educators. I think they like to have 5. And you basically work together for a period of time. Everybody has a project they want to work on. And then you come together periodically to update members of the PLC on your progress, on your project, and also to get feedback from the other people in your group. So it's a great way to keep you motivated because then you got other people looking at it over your shoulder. You know, if you said you were going to do something and now you've got some people that you're going to be accountable to, you're more likely to meet that deadline. Professional Learning Community, PLC. And they will sign people up. There's a sign-up form on their website, and then they will kind of like group them together periodically. Okay, NEFI, National Endowment for Financial Education, they have the high school financial planning program. I don't know that that's had any major tweaks lately. They have tweaked their evaluation toolkit. So they have this toolkit online where if you want to put together an evaluation form, they've got all these mix and match questions that you can pull from, and then you don't have to start from scratch to do that. And then they also updated, our gentleman from Monmouth College is no longer here, but they updated Cash Course, which is their course for college students. Jumpstart every year does something called Making the Case for Financial Literacy, and that's just a collection of statistics that kind of show what people don't know or don't do about their personal finances. Okay, Rutgers lesson plans. So for the past 4 years, since we've been getting this funding from the state through the New Jersey credit unions that hold public funds, they've been buying out my time to do these boot camps and also write lesson plans. So as of the other day, we now have 16 lesson plans online, and 2 more will go up by September 1st. So these are pretty comprehensive lesson plans. They're tied to the New Jersey core curriculum standards, and they each have 5 activities plus a lot of learning extensions that you can use to, package your classroom. You can use as much of it or as little as you have time for. And we'll have more next year. The goal is that by the time we get hopefully to the end of my career at Rutgers, or money runs out or something, we will have every strand in the New Jersey core curriculum covered with a lesson plan. That's what we're aiming for. So every time I write a new one, I'm writing on a different strand. Okay, so I'm looking at the time. We're doing really good. We might even get out here a little bit early. What do people think about that? Yes. Okay, so we're going to give you till let's go maybe 3:05 or so, and then we can do a little debriefing. I have a couple activities for you that you might want to do in this section. Since I talked about Social Security, you might want to take a look at the Social Security infographic here. Sometimes when I only have like 2 minutes at the end of my class, I just build in as an extra slide if I have the time an infographic. And then I just ask my students, take a look at this infographic. What does it mean? So that's kind of what I'm talking about here. Just take a look at the infographic. What are some of the key messages from it? You might want to get into a data crunch activity if you didn't do that during the scavenger hunt. Some of you may have already done them. I put a couple of them in there to give you an example. There's one, what a family's personal income pays for annually. There's another one, who's a better saver, men or women? And then the third one that I put in is the share of consumers holding at least one credit card by age group. What I really would like you to go to, though, are 2 things that are in their interactive section of their website. One is the poverty risk calculator. And you can just go to riskcalculator.org. The address is right on the bottom of your handout. it will estimate the risk of you being in poverty by the end of your lifetime. So your lifetime risk of being poor. You know, I'm a certified financial planner. I'm thinking I'm doing pretty good. I took that thing. I still have a 25% chance, you know, because I'm a woman. I could live long. I may not be poor now, but I could be poor 25 years from now and still be alive. So it's kind of an interesting reality check for people. And then the other one that you've got to try is the balloon test. So just go into NextGen's interactive activities thing. Just type in balloon test on the search. And you will find the balloon test. Turn your speakers up on your computer, because we want to hear all those popping balloons. What the balloon test is that it's a metaphor for your tolerance for risk. So when you pump up the balloon, that's like a bull rising market. You know, stock prices are going up, your balloon's getting bigger. But you know, guess what? Your balloon is going to pop at any time. And you're going to play 5 rounds, so you can kind of get a chance to see what markets would be like. And at any time that you play that game, you can bank your points. You can click on collect. So it's kind of a measure of how much risk you're willing to take. When you play the balloon test, it might also transfer over into investments. So I set out to curate resources, because I have 3 projects that require me to develop a lot of content. I provide webinars each month for military financial services professionals all around the globe, people who are serving our armed forces and providing financial counseling to service members and their families. So that's one of my grand projects. Then my second grand project is the Department of Education, writing the lesson plans and doing the boot camps. And then the third one is my undergraduate course. So my well was running a little dry. So I said, I need to just find good content. I just need to sit there and curate what's out there so I can find these materials and have them already found, so my work would be more productive. So I thought it would be a 3-week project of my 6 months, and it turned out to be a 3-month project. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And while I was down at the University of Florida, I met up with some colleagues down there in Cooperative Extension. And one of them, I was sitting in his office, and he kind of said to me point blank, well, great that you're doing all this stuff, Barb, but are you going to share it with the rest of us? And I had never really thought about that. I just thought I had to write this plan for the dean and, you know, to get this sabbatical, and I wasn't thinking any more than just having these resources for my projects that I mentioned. And then he kind of put it to me more bluntly and said, well, Barb, what happens if you get hit by a truck on the way back to Jersey? All your effort will have been for nothing. It's like, okay. So then it kind of expanded my horizon, and I realized, wow, my sabbatical can really benefit a whole lot of other people, teachers and extension colleagues and everybody else. So what I did is, for the first month down in Gainesville, I just looked at videos. And I must have looked at over 2,000 videos, and I came up with 250 that I considered to be decent. In other words, I would use them in my classroom or in my projects. So they had to be cute, they had to be short, they had to be content accurate, and they had to be free of commercials. Or if they had commercials, they had to be at the very end so that you can cut them off and you wouldn't expose your students to the infomercial. So I have a list for that of about 250 videos. Then I went on to quizzes, calculators, lesson plans, and infographics. Spent another month or so doing that. Must have looked at 2,000 items there. I tested every quiz. I tested every calculator. Used to drive me crazy. I'd put all this information in, and then it would want my email. And it's like, really? You couldn't have told me that up front, you know, because I didn't want anything that would be like a salesy kind of thing. But I came up with a list of about 38 pages of that. All those lists are up here, by the way, on display. And then I went into NextGen for another month and really dug into all of the materials that Tim and his staff have created. So each of those has a link, and all of those links are described in this blog post that I wrote for Tim about my content curation process. So I give that to you as my gift to you. My 3 months of work hopefully will save you a lot of time finding resources for your classroom. On some of them, I did annotate them to a little bit just to describe what they're about. So again, they were resources that I would use in my classroom.